they're either on autopilot or they're just looking out for their jobs. I have been in situations where I have worked with other specific networks, and there's these execs who have either slandered, misconstrued stuff that I said because they fucked up just to cover their back. And I have to go in through an email and be like, hold on a second. That's not how it fucking is. This is what it's like, because they're looking out for their own, you know?
A bunch of snakes though, you know? I mean, I think anybody who's had any experience in the entertainment industry is...
I'm almost 100% sure this video is already demonetized in the first fucking 15 seconds. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. This is a podcast about anything and everything. And we got two very special guests here. We have Ray, one of my childhood friends.
Yes, sir.
Since Sacramento, and he and I grew up two very different people. Ray, if you guys don't know, he does sound shit. So I don't know what the exact title of your job is, Ray, but he does sound shit. So anytime I've had a sketch done or whatever that needed to be processed, and you guys were very critical about the way the audio sounded, that's his fault. That's Ray's fault. And then we got Khalif in the house, and we also have Ed Park, Ed 2. Do you like to be called Edric or Ed?
I mean, both. You know, it doesn't matter. The reason why I tell people my name is Ed is because they butcher my name when I say Edric.
What do you say, Edric?
Like, they're like, oh, Eric? Like, no, Edric. Oh, Andrew. No, Edric.
Andrew?
Oh, Edward. No, so like, because, you know, most of the time, well, pre-COVID days, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times when you're in a social setting, there's some, you know, background noise going on, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're at a bar or at a club, whatever, and you're meeting people, and then it's like, oh, you know, my name's Edric, nice to meet you, and then they just... like it's like strike 3, strike 4, strike. I'm like, you know what, dude? Just call me Ed, you know?
And they go, Ethel?
Yeah.
So that's, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah, that's why. No, like they'll make up names too. Like, I mean, granted, Edric is a pretty unique name, right? But like they'll make up names like Edrin. You know, I'm like, all right,
Edrin.
come on, Edrin.
Yeah, I've never.
I've
Never fucking stupid.
You've
yeah.
never.
So that's why I got in the habit of like introducing myself as Ed, just to kind of keep it easy. Because like I started to get a little irritated. I don't want to keep repeating myself like, no, Edric, no, Edric. Like,
I just picture you just taking them to the bathroom and just choking them. Say my fucking name, dude.
No, the
Tyson
worst.
style,
The
dude.
worst was that I never anticipated anybody messing up like Ed. Right? I mean, it's a fucking 2-letter name, right? I went to a McDonald's one time, and then they said, "Oh, what's the name on the order?" I said, "Ed." Okay, and they call my order, and they're like, "I got an order for ED."
Erectile dysfunction?
I'm like, come on, man. It's Ed. It's not that hard, man.
And then you looked up, he's actually blind.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been pretty
It's
terrible.
like,
Yeah. Good on you, man.
Hey,
You're
you
like,
know
you wearing
what?
sunglasses inside here, you dick.
Even if you spit in my food, I won't be mad anymore.
Yeah.
No, but that was like, dude, how do you fuck up Ed? Like, that's, come on, man.
Some people are just fucking stupid, man.
That's interesting with the name stuff, because I've been noticing, like, when people ask me what my name is, I'm like, it's in my mind, I surprise myself. Either I'm gonna say Cliff or Khalif.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm gonna say when I say it. So I'm like, Khalif. I'm like, they're gonna fuck this up.
Yeah.
And they're like, Khalid. I'm like, actually, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty close, you know. And sometimes
People always say Khalid, and there's a fucking F at the end of it. Every time I see him order a drink, without fail, 70% of the time, Khalid.
I hate that.
Why?
I mean, because it's, you know, it's a pretty rare name too. But here's the thing though, it's Khalid versus Eve. Khalif, like a leaf.
Did you fucking say somebody said queef?
yeah, that was it.
They're like, queef? Like, fuck you.
Fuck you.
I got an order for queef here.
No, hell no. Yeah, let me speak to your manager.
Well, today's topic, I think we should talk about this, and I just had Edna over here just watching
Edmonton.
What the fuck are you calling me right now?
Edmonton. So Chappelle, if you guys don't know, Dave Chappelle actually has an Instagram, which Ed didn't even know.
I didn't even know. I just found out like right when I got here. I didn't even know.
So not too long ago, Chappelle opened up an Instagram. I don't know if it was because of his idea or I don't know, somebody else told him to open one, but he doesn't post often, and it's only small little clips of certain things, right? So I think he has a total of maybe 8 posts within the past year. But the things that you do get to see, on his Instagram, he'll post these small little specials. So he posted one recently. What was it titled again? Unforgiven, right? And there was when I was looking around, people were quoting shit from the Chappelle stuff, but I didn't know what the fuck it meant. And I remember I just made a joke at my friend. He posted on his Instagram. He wrote something about, he made a comment about hot dogs, like people, you don't know what goes in hot dogs but you still eat them or some shit. It was like a Chappelle quote, right? I fucking DM'd this fool. I was like, fuck you, hot dogs are delicious. what the fucking reference was. Because he didn't say because he's trying to be all cool and artsy and shit. He's like, you didn't watch the Chappelle shit. It's like, nah,
like, this shit just came out, bro.
I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to know what that means? But Chappelle does I'm not sure if you can really call it stand-up. Maybe he did the stand-up portion, and this was the last part.
Story time by Chappelle.
Story time,
which
man.
I fucking love. The
It
guy
was so good,
yeah.
and it was interesting when I watch Chappelle do this stuff. We were talking about how I arguably like it better than his previous stand-up, which made him so iconic in our lives. Because when I go back and I watch the previous Dave Chappelle stuff, it's very Kevin Hart-esque, meaning that it's super loud. There aren't a lot of gaps in his stand-up, so there's no breathing room, and it's just joke after joke after joke, which I think when you're young, you like that shit. It's like the stuff that a lot of young people like about YouTube videos and Vine. It's gratuitous laughs, it's quick, bing, bang, boom, right? But when you watch the Chappelle stuff, he takes time to think, and we as an audience, we allow him to think. We're not thinking, oh, this is his set's going bad, you know? So when I watch his stuff and it ends, I'm always like wanting more, which is weird because it's not really a stand-up set.
For sure.
You know?
For sure. No, you see, I think like the biggest thing for me is, and what I appreciate about that is you see kind of the evolution of an artist, you know, and he's just getting more and more masterful with this craft. And the thing about Dave is that he has this ability to draw you into his story and then like make you imagine what that world was like that he's speaking about. Right. So that's always indicative of a masterful storyteller. Right. Even if it's false, even if it never happened, the way he tells the story and the way he basically structures it, you know, because it always comes back to something. And so whether it's a punchline or there's a central theme, like you never know how he's going to weave in and out of that. Sometimes he'll go on a really serious tone and you'll see just a random punchline. You're like, I was not expecting that, but that's fucking hilarious, right? He started off serious, making you think he's here. And then other times, he'll just take you on that serious path, which is what that Instagram clip was like, right?
Make you forget.
Yeah, I mean, and so like, for me, it's when I'm watching this guy and listening to this guy on stage, it doesn't feel like he's performing a set. It feels more intimate than that.
It feels like your friend's talking to you.
Yeah. Or at the least, like somebody who you admire and respect sharing kind of their life experience with you.
Teaching you.
Teaching you, learning from that, right? And so I think that's a really cool kind of evolution to see because like we all were fans of the Chappelle show and this is exactly what he's talking about, right? I mean, Chappelle show was such a big part of like, I guess, well, for me, my college days. And at that time, it was such a big part of pop culture. You had Chappelle references all day,
over, dude.
All day, right?
What did the 5 fingers say to that face? Slap. Man, I slapped so many people for no fucking reason. Yo, I love that shit. I just start smacking people out in public, and they would still laugh. They're like,
the Rick James,
I get it.
You know?
I get it.
Rick James, bitch, fuck your couch, right?
Oh, like, fuck your couch was the shit.
Yeah, so like, it was such a big part of pop culture at the time, and then you had the whole kind of the collapse of the Chappelle show by Dave taking off, right? And there was a mystery. There's a lot of mystery surrounding that. Did this guy actually go crazy? Was he on drugs? Was he mentally unstable? And then little by little, ever since he's come back into the public space, he's been shedding a little bit more light on it, a little bit more, and giving you more context.
It was like 20 odd years. He didn't say anything.
Right.
And he kind of let people say whatever they wanted about him.
Yeah.
I could not do that.
Yeah.
Like the moment I hear something false, like he was telling, somebody made a comment about one of my lights here.
Immediate.
And he was like, yo, if I would do it this way. And I'm like, that's funny. You're a nobody. Now go fuck yourself. I didn't have to say that. That person was probably a fan. Not anymore. But Dave Chappelle just kind of said, fuck it. I'm not a part of this space, and I'm gonna let you guys think what you want to think. And he was talking about, even in the special, how he had accusations that he was doing cocaine, and he was devout Muslim. Didn't drink.
Smoking crack. Yeah.
All right. Angel dust, PCP.
Yeah.
He was smoking crack in the fucking Daniel Rollins asshole. Just, oh, come on, son. And then, but like at Daniel Rollins, but and he let those rumors kind of just go about, and I'm pretty sure it was really hurtful, right? Because he was doing something that in his mind he thought was a rightful thing to do, but people just looked at him like he's a crazy person. He went to Africa, he left $50 million fucking dollars. Why would somebody do this if he's not crazy? But you look at it from his perspective when he speaks, and when if you guys watched too, he recently went on the Letterman show, the one that's on Netflix as well, same platform, right? And he talks about the sketch, and I actually went back to watch the Chappelle show on Netflix. My bad, Dave. This is before it was known.
Before it was
I didn't
known.
know this shit. I thought you knew about it, man. Like, we're best friends. Don't just pick up my text. But he talked about how it was that ferry, because at the last season when he left mid-season, it was Charlie Murphy and it was Daniel Rollins that were showing that ferry clip, and they had an open discussion with the crowd about what it means to them. Is it offensive? Is it taking it too far in terms of racism, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at the clip, it's like a racial ferry, right? Doing like racial stereotypes. There was a black person. There was an Asian ferry, a Mexican ferry, there was a white ferry, right? And the thing that made Dave Chappelle upset was he was trying to say something with the sketch and people were laughing for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And so he goes, oh, am I actually doing a disservice when I thought that I was shedding light on something that I wanted to talk about, right? And it was dope because when you see the crowd interaction, people were like, well, when you had the white fairy, you're making these stereotypical jokes about white people that's not really bad. They have money, they have power, they make fun of other ethnicities. How are these negative traits versus the Asian people is ching chong,
Yeah.
the black people is this and that. And he goes, Daniel Rollins goes like, hold on, let me show you the other second clip of it then. And it's literally the white fairy getting pissed on. Goes, so now what do you think? But it's such an integrity move, right?
Yeah.
And even for me when I was younger, I believed in that shit. I was like, oh, he's definitely doing coke or some shit, because who would walk away for $50 million?
For an average folk, I mean, it's hard to fathom, right? It's like, how can you walk away from that type of money, that type of fame? Like, dude, you're the biggest thing in the comedy scene right now. I mean, it doesn't make sense to us, but we weren't working with all the information, right? And he's finally shedding light on the entire situation. And then now you're like, oh.
And he was young. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. He was young.
Oh, yeah. He was super fucking young.
Yeah, he was young. I mean, that's what arguably catapulted him, right? To like the beginning of Dave Chappelle, this major mega comedian, right? That everybody knows. And so prior to that, he wasn't a household name, And so like that was even a bigger reason why it was hard to understand. Like, dude, you're now like the shit,
Right.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows you. You're hilarious. Everybody loves you. Why would you walk away? But now has a call to action to people like, hey, if you ever cared about me or ever enjoyed something from me, that's powerful, because now he has that equity with the people. He has that trust, he has that respect, and it's unanimous.
He said that too.
Nobody ever looks at Dave and goes, oh, that guy's whack, or you've heard like people speaking ill of Dave, right? So now he has that power, and I thought that was really cool to see that he's using a platform where there's so much temporary, just like vapid content that's out there to like put out something genuine. And he's like, okay, I'm going to use this platform for my cause, and ultimately like saying our cause. So it was really cool. I thought the whole thing was.
Have you guys seen George Carlin's stand up?
I mean, I've seen it, but like which one?
Like, well, I'm making that comparison because there's like early George Carlin, right?
Yeah.
And I only found out about George Carlin maybe about like 6 or 7 years ago. I've heard of George Carlin's name, but I was never a hardcore connoisseur of stand-up comedy. I had the stand-up people that I liked that I wanted to follow. Growing up, it was Eddie Murphy, right? Dave Chappelle, obviously. There was Bobby Lee, and of course Bobby Lee. You know what I mean? I fucking love Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ari Spears. Those were like my 4 top favorite comedians, right? Other than that, anybody else who did stand-up, I didn't watch that much stand-up. I watched a little bit here and there. I saw Ray Romano stuff. I saw Kevin James stuff here and there, but I never got to see Richard Pryor stuff that much, and I only saw that maybe like a few years back. And then, but George Carlin kind of has Dave Chappelle, I mean, has the evolution of what George Carlin has. Because when George Carlin started off, he was more loud and robust with the stand-up comedy. And if you see towards his later years before he passed away, it was more Dave Chappelle kind of has that same
for sure
step.
I can see the parallels. You're
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's I wouldn't say it's preachy, but he also takes those moments where it doesn't sound like he's performing a stand-up joke where he's looking for bits and punchlines. You know, it's a funny conversation and funny thought. This podcast is brought to you by another podcast called Yo, Is This Racist? Do you ever hear something and wonder to yourself, hey, was that racist? Each Wednesday, the show Yo, Is This Racist? Tries to answer that question. It's hosted by Andrew T. and Tawny Newsome, who you probably know from all your favorite Earwolf shows. In each episode, Tawny and Andrew cover racism in recent news and pop culture, and they answer burning questions from fan-submitted voicemails about your maybe racist coworkers from friends and family members. Their guests include a huge range of actors, writers, and comedians like Atsuko Okatsuka, Nicole Byer, the scam goddess Lacey Mosley, and even your childhood hero, LeVar Burton. Listen and subscribe to Yo, Is This Racist on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or on your favorite podcast app. And I see those like similarities, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about Dave is just how insightful this guy is, how intelligent he is. And that's why having the gift of gab that he has, right? That he's such a masterful storyteller because he's combining all of those strengths of his and then funneling it through one craft. And then you just see a master at work when he does it. Like every time he's on stage, whether it's funny or serious or whatever it is, I'm always in awe. I'm like, this guy is a motherfucking GOAT, no question.
Yeah.
You know,
it's in his posture and his body move. Like you just tell, like
It's confidence.
he's just commanding the stage. With the cigarette, it's like, oh, we're about to get into something.
Right. And you could also
Tap, tap, tap. I like him when he taps his cigarettes.
his voice has a lot more character in it now too, because he's older and he's been smoking for a long time.
Got a lot of weed and cigarettes in his voice.
That's part of it though, right? It's captivating. There's a certain like cadence that he has, and so it's just like, yeah, you can't emulate what he does, even if you try. Like even if you had some of the skills, like it's a perfect melting pot of all those skills combined.
Well, his comedy too is so it's like fearless. Like I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but
it is fearless because he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a unlike Kevin Hart's so-called special. He really no fucks given for sure.
Now listen, like before, you know, we'll talk about this topic too. I've personally loved Kevin Hart. I've actually been to 3 of his stand-up comedy specials. Fucking hilarious. Like the energy and vibe that he gives out when he performs live and you're sitting there, it's way different. I think there's a few things that I've seen, you know, this is from a fan's perspective, right? Is that a lot of his stand-up later on started to feel either less personal or extremely watered down, right? It was different from the first stuff that I saw. And, you know, it's hard to follow up on the stand-up that you do in the beginning that makes you so popular, because the follow-up is always, it's the sequel part. Like the sequels are always the most difficult, right? Except for Dave Chappelle, which he's like a rare commodity in this space. But when I saw his stand-up, it's just like his recent one it's titled No Fucks Given. When you have a title and you put your stand-up as No Fucks Given, when you're already your previous image to that is that you give way too many fucks. You stay out of stuff that's political. You stay out of stuff that's controversial because you want either everybody to like you or you're afraid that you're going to lose brands and endorsements. That's what Kevin Hart is known for now. Kevin Hart is a businessman. He's a comedic rock star because he knows how to navigate through this stuff. But in the conversation of stand-up, it's very rare and few and far between that somebody says, yo, Kevin Hart has some of the best stand-up I've ever heard. I have yet to hear that in front of my peers or anybody else. To me, growing up, I loved his shit. But when I saw his new special and it said No Fucks Given, I actually got excited. I was like, yo, this is going to be Kevin Hart really showing out, because he talks about his reverence for Dave Chappelle so high. Right? He talks about people like George Carlin, Richard Pryor. These are gods in the comedy space. Eddie Murphy. And you saw what they did on the stage. They didn't give a fuck, right? Which I think for comedy, you can't give a fuck to a certain extent. So when he did No Fucks Given, and I saw it, and I watched it all the way through, there was moments that I smiled and smirked, but I was like, where was the part where you didn't give a fuck? Like, where was it? I didn't see it, you know? And his jokes were funny. I watched it a second time. I always give it a second try, and I laughed more on the second time I watched it than the first one, because as an audience, when he titled it No Fucks Given, and he gave that watered down, just very soft serve type of stand-up, not to say his material was whack, but it was like, it wasn't what the title was supposed to represent.
This ain't raw.
Yeah,
you know?
it left me wanting more.
Yeah.
You know, so in my mind, I'm like, why did you say that? Is it
Yeah.
just because you did your stand-up in your living room and you talked about your ex-wife? That doesn't mean there was no fucks given. Like, I don't understand why you titled it that.
I mean, because he's at a point now where he's a multifaceted businessman, right?
Yeah.
Like he has his hands in all types of shit, and so it's marketing ploy, right? I mean, you say no fucks given, you think, oh man, he's gonna go ham. He's gonna say anything and everything without any reservation. And then it gets people kind of curious or excited, and then you tune in and you're like, oh,
That's why.
I got bamboozled. I got bamboozled.
Because the hard part, what people try to do when they follow somebody like a Dave Chappelle or the comics who quote unquote don't really give a fuck, is that they forget that when Dave Chappelle doesn't give a fuck, he explains his thoughts thoroughly. Like you said, he takes you on this journey that gets to the punchline or the joke or what he's trying to portray.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other comics, I'm not going to name them, but they're bigger comics who just say crazy shit just to say crazy shit. And they do the wow factor thing, but they're not saying anything, and then they get flamed for it, and they go, well,
That's on it.
yeah. It's like, well, I'm just doing comedy. It's like, well, there's comedy, but you still have to make it funny.
Yeah.
And you're not doing that. You think you're doing what Dave Chappelle's doing, but you're not doing what Chappelle's doing, because Chappelle is actually a great storyteller and he's doing his job as a comic. You're just saying shit for the wow factor.
Yeah. And I think also too, something to consider about Dave is that he's only getting better with time.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, rarely do you see...
He's LeBron.
Yeah, rarely do you see somebody at their peak continuing and extending that peak, having longevity with it, right? At a certain point, there's probably the argument that once you become too successful, you kind of lose that hunger and that drive, and then you start to see that reflected in whatever their body of work is, whether you're an athlete or a comedian, whatever, right? And then, like, unless you're a special breed like a Kobe or MJ, where you just have this maniacal drive to be the best all the time, even though you have all the accolades, it doesn't matter. Your goal is to be the best when you're out there. Not everybody has that type of DNA. Not everybody has that type of like maniacal drive. And somebody like Dave, I don't think has that maniacal drive, but he just doesn't care. He's like, this is who I am. This is what I want to talk about. This is how I'm going to do it. You know, and I think it's the kind of the culmination of like all his life experiences and especially what he went through with Comedy Central and the whole fallout with that, that he is able to do what he's doing and how he does it. And it just happens to be the perfect time in history where the media outlets, like, he doesn't need to go to a network in order to get this shit out. He could just put it out himself. And then make his fucking 20 mil by giving Netflix shit that he already had in the vault, right? And so I feel like it's just a combination of things and everything in the universe just lined up where Dave Chappelle is able to be Dave Chappelle.
Well, it's so weird because now these media outlets and these execs that are working there, they actually have to be responsible for the shit that they say to people.
For sure.
Because they never had to before, right? Even people who are heads of these like stand-up comedy stuff, right? There were so many gatekeepers that stopped you from being successful simply because people just either didn't like the way you looked, there was somebody else that they wanted to push in front of you. Well, those gatekeepers are now gone, right? Not gone completely. I want to be careful when I say that. There's still a bunch of gatekeepers there, right? Especially when you come into the entertainment space and you want to get signed to certain agencies, whatever that it is, right? But the cool thing is when somebody who is like Dave Chappelle or who has COVID, I just spit a lot.
I know, I saw that. I was like,
it actually went directly in his mouth. So when somebody like Dave Chappelle, who has such a huge following, he doesn't need to wait for your fucking permission to drop a fucking special.
Exactly.
He'll do it like he did put it on fucking Instagram.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the hardest part for me. And that's why when YouTube came around and all this other stuff, I said, okay, well, if I'm gonna be in school and do all this other stuff, and when I'm trying to do these hit up these comedy clubs and are only giving me 5 minutes, I'm going to do something else and I'm going to try to put it on this platform. And it was a way better move that I made than to just go to the comedy club and hope to make it break it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And again, it's like just being with the times, right? It's not like Dave Chappelle is this super technologically savvy guy and he's talking about that type of stuff, but he recognizes the tools that he has to work with and he works with it and it makes it work for him. And like I said, it just so happened that it's the perfect time where how he wants to do it, there's infrastructure in place to facilitate that. and he's able to execute on it however he wants. And in the process, he's making a lot of money too. Let's not forget Netflix paid him 20 mil per special, right?
It was something ridiculous. Man.
So you got 40 mil just and he's like, I got more in the vault.
He has so much shit.
Yeah, but hearing about Netflix, their response to the Chappelle show, that's really awesome. Yeah, that was really, because I heard him on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he touched on that. Like Joe Rogan's, Chappelle show's on Netflix now. And Dave just kind of paused and he smiled. He's like, yeah, but I'm not making anything from it. And he just kind of left it at that. And so I was like, what did that mean? Like, what do you mean he's not making anything from it? And I think was because this stand-up special on his Instagram was what? It took place this past week or something?
It was pretty recent.
Pretty recent, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he shot that after he did JRE. And then so now getting the full context of it was like, oh, that's what he was talking about.
But it takes Dave Chappelle to go out and tell people, and they have to hear it from his mouth, right? Because I was even hearing stuff from like the radio show with Charlemagne. What's that shit called?
Oh, the Brilliant Idiots.
Not
Breakfast
Brilliant
Club.
Breakfast Club.
Okay, Ray. Look at my dude. What you say?
Ray finally chimes in
culture,
with the
man.
diamond.
My dude's culture, bro.
Ray literally said, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, he's like, "Shut the fuck up."
It's the Breakfast Club.
See
Come
the
on,
guy,
man.
It was the
DJ
Breakfast Club.
Envy and Angie,
Yeah. So, but I think I could be misquoting this, but Charlemagne and DJ was like, he must be making a little bit of something, and they kind of put that out in the ether, and then people might believe that shit. But it takes Dave Chappelle to come out and say, actually, I'm not making fucking shit, because we think, from our perspective, nobody would do that too.
Right.
But that's how fucking cutthroat this fucking industry is too.
Yeah.
And it sucks too that you have to have your wits about you, because somebody is always out looking for themselves versus you. And they do a really good job of making it sound like they're doing something for you. I've seen that happen so many times. You have any idea how many times I've taken a fucking meeting, somebody has either said the words, "Oh, you're the next biggest thing. Your ideas are the best. Like you have something special. We're going to put you in something. I got something for you." Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You don't mean any of that shit. You have said that shit to so many fucking people. It just comes out your mouth like fucking diarrhea. And I understand, because a lot of them too, they're either on autopilot or they're just looking out for their jobs. I have been in situations where I have worked with other specific networks, and there's these execs who have either slandered, misconstrued stuff that I said because they fucked up just to cover their back. And I have to go in through an email and be like, hold on a second. That's not how it fucking is. This is what it's like, because they're looking out for their own,
Bunch of snakes though, I mean, I think anybody who's had any experience in the entertainment industry is well aware of how many snakes there are in the industry. Whether it's music, whether it's Hollywood, whatever. Right. I mean, and look, like for me being on the music side, how many times I've heard horror stories of like just new artists, right, who are just getting a little buzz or whatever, who get signed to a terrible fucking contract, first of all, and then the label basically shelves them. Yeah. And it's like for a number of reasons. One might be, this artist or this group is starting to garner some interest from a competing label. We don't want them to pick them up, because that could be competition for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to sign them, but we have no intention of putting this artist out. It's like
they already have their artists that they're pushing out.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
like that's but it's a game to them. It's just dollars and cents. You're monetizing these people. These are just commodities. And so they're not looking at it from, we respect your craft and your artistry and what you're trying to do. We want to help you propel your career by giving you the platform for that. That's why, as much as I do have gripes with like current ways of consuming media, like all the platforms that exist, whether it be your YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, whatever, right? I mean, it's just too much, but it does provide an infrastructure for artists to stay independent and be able to propel their career themselves. Yeah. Now, how you do that, that's a whole different topic, right? Because some people now are kind of taking what the labels did and then putting it into their own hands. There's like this layer of fakeness in that, and they're doing that just to play the game. Which, to each their own. I can't knock on that. If you can sleep at night by doing something like that, by like putting out this fake persona or fake image of you, your lifestyle, your art, whatever, just to make money, then so be it, right? But I'm saying there's nobody saying, well, even if you want to do that, you can't, because we own you. You're under contract with us. So if you want to put out a project, we got to give you the green light. Make a project, let us know. But then they're not going to give you the money necessarily. Maybe you might get a shitty advance, right? Like in the music scene. But you got to recoup that. You got to recoup that advance.
That was the craziest thing that I found out.
Yeah.
You hear this stuff. It's like, yo, this fool got a multi-million-dollar record deal. I was like, that's
a loan.
Yeah, they're like, that's what I found out. They're like, actually, they're loaning you that shit for your music, but you got to pay that back off of your tours, everything else in the record sales. Saying,
like the contract is so shitty. Like the back end points they're getting on stuff is like not. So it just takes forever for you to recoup this, and all the while labels making their money, right? And then so like that's why you've seen so many artists too who midway through like their contract with the label start lashing out. Like maybe they got a five project album deal with a label, and then by their second or third project they're already like this big household name, but they're like, I'm not making any fucking, these guys are jacking me.
Literally making nothing.
Yeah, I want to get out of this.
They start to do merch. They have to do all this other stuff.
Exactly,
and that's where they make their money.
Exactly. And that was kind of the shift we started to see as far as the music industry goes, where like people started to try to traverse like that independent route. And then there were trailblazers within that too. Guys like Macklemore, right? Ryan Lewis and it was Ryan Lewis, right? That was his name?
Ryan Lewis.
It was those two combined. He was like the producing side.
Yeah,
and
the
Macklemore.
Producer and Macklemore. I'm pretty sure his name was Ryan Lewis, but I could be complete.
I never liked his music.
Either way though. Either way. I mean,
but I appreciated him though.
Yeah. I like the music.
I don't want him to think I hate his shit. I just never really related to that shit, you know?
Right. So there were, a lot of people who started going down that route, and then people started to see like, oh shit, you know what? I could make money too by being an independent artist. I don't need to sign to a major label.
Isn't Chance the Rapper independent?
Yeah, he is.
That's fucking nuts. He's like Grammy Award with everything as an independent artist. Sure. How nuts is that?
But obviously you gotta have some like business intelligence too. Like if you're just on that, oh, I'm an artist tip and I don't want to deal with that type of, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. Like in this day and age, if you really want to take advantage of all the tools available to you, you got to look at it from all angles. You have to be your own marketer. You have to be your own promoter. You have to be your own accountant. You have to be your own businessman. You have to be your own manager even, in some case. So you got to wear all these different hats.
Fuck that. I'm just going to kill myself. Dude. Fuck that, man. That's just too rough.
No, but I'm not saying you got to do it. I'm saying the options are available to you. Whereas let's say 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. No.
There was a lot of those. It's funny because that was very apparent even in the YouTube world. Some of these artists who were waiting on other people, like musicians specifically, that were waiting on other people to record for them, write their music, play, do all this other stuff. They couldn't get anywhere in the beginning stages of YouTube because content was being pushed out fast by people who were so multifaceted. There's artists who could record their own music, they could mix and master their own shit, and so if they wanted to do a cover, they can get it out within a couple days, 3 days. Versus this other artist, they're waiting for somebody else to vocally produce their stuff and set it up. I'm talking about myself. And then when they have that ability to do things, it was amazing. And then I would see certain artists who could do it and they just wouldn't do it. And I'm like, bro, I wish I had your skill.
No, for sure. For sure. I mean, I was envious too. Like when I met Z for the first time, right? Like,
he does his own shit all the time.
Z's all of our friend, like he was probably the first person where I met where he could write his own shit, record his own shit, produce his own shit, mix his own shit, and release his own shit.
Everything.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit. I'm like, damn, dog, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
And I was envious of that because
He's cutting his own hair.
What hair to cut?
Oh, damn.
Shout out to Zito.
Shout out to Z after that.
Like he's a Homer Simpson and shit. Like he got 3 strands on top of his head.
Oh no.
Hey man, he let that shit go. He's a nice, sexy bald man now.
I gotta get it in there a little bit, a little ribbing.
That fool's gonna stab you.
But he was like the first person that I met where I had a friend who was able to do everything.
Nuts.
And that was really amazing to me. And I was like, holy shit, man.
I mean, Z is definitely worth anytime I do music, right, it's always with Z. And we always split things 50-50.
Yeah.
Nobody else does that. Because I know he does a brunt of the work.
Yeah.
So, I obviously can sell the record or get the listens and the spins, but because I appreciate what he does, I just split 50-50. I'm like, hey man, I don't want to deal with anything. Take half this.
Yeah. And one thing too is that I think a lot of people take for granted is how hard it is to be an engineer. Like to sit there, have people fuck up constantly, but to have the patience or even in some cases to guide them. Like, okay, you know, why don't we try it like this? I mean, some people would snap like within the first, like, motherfucker, this is like your fucking 20th take, man. But the amount of patience and you know, I've also heard stories or seen cases too where engineers get abused. You know, like the artist just completely taken for granted. And it's like, dude, that's not an easy fucking job to do,
it's like that episode in Atlanta where that guy, his session kept crashing in front of that rapper. Right. And he was like kind of looking at him sideways like, hey, man, but don't have that shit happen again.
Yeah. Don Glover's like,
right.
Don Glover's like, what the fuck is going on?
I remember, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, engineers, it takes a certain type of personality. Shout out to all the engineers, man. You guys are doing good work, you know? It's necessary work. But I feel like oftentimes they don't get any shine or glory for the work that they do. But yeah, I mean, again, it's just goes to the point of like, if you really want to utilize all the tools and platform that's available to you, you can. You just got to have the drive to do it.
There's so many ways to succeed in this era.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to hear people who say, I can't do it. That it's like, man, dude.
No,
like,
you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's not you can't do it. You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
There's a very clear fundamental difference between the two.
Yeah.
You have the tools.
Yeah.
But you're choosing not to use it.
Or you just suck.
Yeah. Or you just suck. I mean, but you know, if you suck, I mean, and you're trying, I'm like, hey, props for working hard, but you just whack.
Hey, sometimes it's hard. I mean? It's hard when a lot of people just have other people gas them up and they suck and they just been sucking for years. And I feel so bad. Like I've definitely met a few people who have given me like mixtapes. You know, first of all, I always get so confused when somebody gives me their music. I go, I'm a stand-up comedian. What do you want from me?
They're giving you roasting material.
Like,
That's what they're giving you.
Like, yo, man, like I'm trying to make it big out there. Yo, can you listen to my fucking mixtape? And I'm like, who are you talking to? What am I don't know. Like, don't fucking send me this shit.
What you want me to do with this?
I know. Oh,
I
hate that phrase, dude.
Put me on.
Hey, yo, man. Hey, yo, can you put me on real quick? Fuck you.
On what?
Yeah. How about that, bitch?
Put you on what?
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you do it yourself? Don't ask people for a fucking handout. It's like, nah, it's because people haven't heard me. That's why I'm not shining. It's like, no, when I listen to their music, I'm like, it's not because of that. You are garbage.
But but I get you, so you should get me though. You know what I mean?
It's like, yo, like, you know what the most obnoxious thing is too is when I see somebody who does comedy, and you know, comedy is very subjective. Whether you find it funny or not, it's the most subjective thing out there, right? Or like
all art, all art.
You know, so when somebody asks me to look at their comedy and I'm like, what did you expect from me? What do you want me to say? They're like, yo, I feel like you and I are like the same. So I'm doing comedy too. I was like,
first of all,
I will stab you. Don't ever say that.
Well, not only that, if they're asking you for your opinion, don't be mad if I give you my opinion. You know, like you're asking for it. If it sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks. And it's like, don't get fucking sensitive about that shit. Like if you want to get better, then be open to criticism.
This is what I say too. I'm like, I don't think your shit is funny at all. Like I've said this to somebody. I was like, I find it not funny. It's like, you don't see me laughing. I don't find it funny. However, it doesn't mean that you're not going to not be successful.
Right.
It's just not funny to me.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
So I'm not this like A&R development person too. I don't know. I can't look at something and say, oh, this can be successful in this realm. That's not where my mind goes. I just think, is it funny to me? If it's not, and they go, oh shit, should I change it? No, don't base it on what I say. Find your own voice. Somebody will find it funny. There are so many, like, great example, right? Like, our buddy Jason Chen, right? Jason Chen does these like TikTok videos, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you should watch it. It'll make you want to jump off a bridge. It's Jason, I fucking love you, but that your comedy is like the lowest hanging fruit garbage I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, he does comedy.
Dumpster fire.
Dumpster fire. Like it's the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. However, that's from the opinion of adults, right? But like young kids look at his stuff and they go, damn, this is like some mind-blowing comedy. So it affects somebody, right? Like he did a video where it's like, I had a dream that I cheated on my girl. And so the video is his girlfriend on his back crying, don't leave me, as he's vacuuming the floor, doing the dishes. And I'm looking at this and I'm rolling my eyes like, who is liking this fucking garbage, dude? Man. But Jason Chen's a businessman and he knows, oh, I bet you this will hit somebody. And it does make somebody laugh out there. Like losers, obviously. But you know, but like I'm saying, that's how subjective it is, right? Because I know everybody in my circle and peers above the age of fucking 14 thinks that's fucking trash.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
However, there's 300,000, 400,000 views on it. So somebody finds it entertaining. So you can't base it on what I think, because I'm just one person.
For sure.
You know?
And it's like, you know, for me too, whenever like people would ask me for opinion, like especially when I was doing music too, and Khalif knows this, I'd always give an honest opinion. Like if I think you suck, you suck. But I wouldn't ever say you need to stop because of that. I would never say you suck so bad you should quit.
Because who the fuck are we to say
exactly. I would say keep working on your craft though.
Thanks,
right?
man.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying to you directly, but you know,
remember those days.
Yeah, like I would always just say like this for
my rapping days, remember?
Yeah, I do remember
my voice
that.
when I tried to be my Wale. Yikes.
Yikes.
No, but like, yeah, I'd always give my honest opinion and like critique it honestly, but then I'd always be like, yeah, just continue to work hard at it, because there might be an audience who actually likes this shit. Now, the audience might be 5 people, but it's still somebody. Audience. Yeah, it's still somebody. Not every single person in this world is going to say this shit is whack. Somebody might listen and be like, wow, I like that so much. And I'd be like, you motherfucker are crazy. But, you know? but if it works, it works.
Get your ass over there with the 5 of them.
You know?
Yeah,
if
man.
it works, it works.
Like, how many times have I seen on Instagram, like I've had so many like these like Asian kids come up and they go, oh, can you see my comedy? And it's like somebody doing dressing up as an Asian mom, and they're doing the Asian mom joke, and it's like 80 of these guys doing it.
So cringe,
right?
man. So fucking
you know,
cringe.
and it's like, I know where they learned it from,
Yeah.
and it's partially my fault.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's, you know, and I always tell them too, I'm like, hey, that shit's gonna run dry. We did that Asian mom thing once, twice, and we moved on and we started doing other stuff outside of it. But they're like, oh, this works. I gotta beat this horse until it's fucking dead. And so they keep doing this joke, and they dress up as an Asian mom in every single video clip. It's like, yeah, I had this thing where I dress up as an Asian mom and I say stuff that Asian moms say. Funny.
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you want me to say? Yeah,
Right.
I guess it was funny 12 years ago. Is it still going to be funny now? Probably not.
Yeah.
And they see people who are starting to lose interest in their stuff, and they start freaking out, and it comes from them to make new content, and they're like, oh shit, I don't have any content. Yeah. I'm basing my content off of everybody else's stuff. I actually don't know how to create.
Exactly. And that's the main point, is that you have the originators, the trailblazers versus the culture vultures, the people who rip other people. And again, to like kind of circle back to Dave Chappelle, that Dave Chappelle's an originator, you know, he doesn't have to borrow from other people. Not to say that he hasn't been influenced. He's very clear.
Yeah, we're all influenced.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know what's great. You got to recognize what's great in order to meet it or surpass it. Right. But yeah, there's so many people who are just basically copying everybody else, ripping off what's popular. And you know what? I'm not really going to talk shit on that, because at the end of the day, if there are people who are consuming that and encouraging them through views, through money, right? Clicks, there's a demand for it. That's why that demand is being filled and it's being met.
And I know why there's a demand for it, or in my personal opinion, right? It's because there's a lot of people out there that look at what somebody else has and they want what they have, but they don't have the skill to do it.
Exactly.
So they rather steal, and they want to take credit for other people's work, and then other people will bolster that idea. They go, well, why can't they? They're just making people laugh and enjoy life. It's you know why? It's because you're also an untalented fuck, and you want to be able to steal like they do. So you can't reprimand them for stuff that you want to do yourself. Yeah. And so I do have a problem with that, because people don't understand when it comes to art and when it comes to thought and creativity, it takes a lot from that individual to create like that. For sure. And the moment that they do it and then somebody steals it and takes credit for them, it feels like you're taking a piece of their fucking soul. Yeah. There was a YouTuber who, I mean, she's probably doing well now. I heard she's doing music now. Her name is Gabbie Hanna, right? I didn't even do a video about her, but I did this random video. It was, we'll talk about this on a podcast with Justin later. So I did this fake series back in the day where Justin and I would fight all the time, right? Just me and Justin Chon. So I actually forgot to tell people that those videos were fake, right? And then one of the videos started getting popular again, and people were just talking shit like, yo, you should be able to take credits from Justin Chon. He's a famous director. He created all this stuff in Gook. And I'm like, that video was fake. Like, this is fake. And so what we were actually prepping for Gook through those videos. And we were going to do this whole thing where the next video after that, when we were fighting in this restaurant, the video after that, he was going to smash the windows in my car.
Oh shit!
And I was just gonna pay for it, you know. But then we decided to do Gook, the film instead, so it worked out, right? But in one of the videos, just casually as we were talking, that girl back in the day got fucking roasted because she stole Louis C.K.'s stand-up bit, right? And it was highly apparent. And what her excuse was, well, sometimes like it just gets. Those stuff that people you admire just get stuck in, and you just say it. I was like, no, you stole it bit for bit. I understand when we make jokes with comics that we like and it becomes a part of our videos, but that only works if everybody knows you're making a Louis C.K. video. Yeah. You did the video as if it was yours. That's why people had a problem with it. In my early videos, I imitated Dave Chappelle so fucking much. It was but everybody knew I was doing a Dave Chappelle joke. Yeah. And we laughed together because they knew that it was Dave Chappelle stuff.
Yeah, there's a clear reference.
There's a clear reference. It's me referencing his jokes and me saying Dave Chappelle like stuff versus me saying, this is my joke, laugh at it. She was stealing a bit and she made a whole video with Louis C.K. stuff. And even his representation was pissed. Like, you can't do that shit. And so, but a lot of kids were defending her, saying like, well, if people are laughing, why can't they just laugh? It's like, that's because you don't have talent. You don't have anything to offer yet. Because you've chosen not to develop it. Yeah. You have that ability, but because you want to be okay with people stealing stuff, because you want to be okay with you doing it too. And that's what I have a problem with, you know?
So just to play devil's advocate about that, there's the integrity side and like the honesty side, right? Just to like steal somebody's material. And then there's the other half of it, because like stealing is one part, right? You got to be able to now take that and leverage it, right? And then so like, that also takes some sort of skill too, in terms of like marketing it the right way, putting it out there the right way, the business. So like, that's what I mean. It's like you got to have like these combination of all these skills in order to actually get a result that might be close to what you're going for, or even meet what you're going for, and God willing, exceed it. And so like the stealing part, I'm not saying is right. That's not what I'm saying is right. Is what I'm saying is like, as long as there's a market where the demand is there, and then they figure out a way to basically meet that demand. Now, once that happens, that artist should get called out for damn sure. Like in this case, you know, be reprimanded for that. Like Louis C.K.'s representation calling her out, other people calling her out, other comics calling her out. And then from there, people should recognize like, okay, that's not their content. So whatever this person is known for wasn't theirs. And then so like, let's see what they do next though. Right now you have this platform, and just as that platform can take you high, it can get you crashing down
100%. And you know, with her too, like I always. So the funny thing is, there's a funny story about that. So we actually have a mutual friend, and so she was pissed. She was like, fucking like. He was telling me she was cursing up a storm, saying "fuck that fat boy," whatever. Well, she's fat too, which is hilarious to me. Right?
Fuck Louis C.K.
No, to me.
Oh, to
right?
you.
Fucking fat on fat crime and shit is hilarious, right? And it's funny because she's all about body positivity, but she was over here calling me a fat fuck to other people. I'm like, what the fuck, bitch? But I was like, whatever. She's young. I understand, right? And once again, I had nothing against her. And when he was like, this dude, when he hit me up, he was like, hey man, I'm just gonna tell you this because I know you're not going to do it. But she says she wants a formal apology from you, and he was laughing as he's telling me this. He was like, I know you're not gonna do it, but I'm her friend, and I told her I would talk to you, but this is as far as I go, you know, because he knows me, like we're homies, right? And I'm like, okay. And I was like, well, can you relay a message to her, right? And no, this was very nice. I was like, she is the hottest like Vine artist, whatever, at the moment, right? You are worried about the opinion of sheep right now. I was like, my platform has never, ever been as big as hers, right? This is not a formal video about it. This is just a casual, it was like almost podcast-like, right? Where we're just having this conversation. I have nothing personally against her, but she did what she did. It's a fact. It is not an opinion at this point. It's a fact. You stole the bit. I'm not going on this crusade to take her down. It was just something that we talked about because it was just conversation in the car. So what I'm telling her is that this is going to pass. You, because you're a young person, you could either apologize for it or whatever, or ignore it. It's going to go away. The problem is she chose to put power into it because she kept freaking out about shit. And you're upset. And I'm telling her, tell her to fucking relax and not to worry about somebody like me.
She played the victim card after she stole.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I was like, what are you worried about? You're worried about the opinion of sheep. And at this point, when it comes to the creator space, my opinion, I'm sheep compared to her. You have so much more fans than me. You have such a huge following. Don't fucking worry. Don't ask somebody to come talk to me, bitch. If you want to come talk to me, right? And I'll tell you the same thing. Shut the fuck up. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
And the more you egg me on, the more I'm just going to drag you, right? And guess what? I could try to drag you. Nothing's going to happen because I'm a fucking nobody.
Yeah.
And so for her, that's what I had to tell her. And I was like, are you going to tell him that? He goes, I can't tell her that. But, you know, but I said to him too, I was like, you know what? She's obviously very fucking talented. You know, she's gotten very far. She didn't have to steal that bit because a lot of her other stuff are originals, right? So you have the talent. You just made a poor choice and chose to steal something because you felt that you had to make so much content. You ran out of your own content.
Yeah.
And that you had to go to stealing somebody else's shit. So you are talented. You know what the fuck you're doing. You have so much skill, but you're worried about stupid shit and you fucked up. That's all that it is. And move on. You know?
Yeah. So I got no context in the situation, but you just provided some context that she actually does have some talent and she didn't need to do it.
She didn't have to.
Yeah, I mean that's even worse. The fact that you have talent and maybe it's one of those things though where, and I'm not like really trying to be compassionate to it, like for what she did, but maybe it's one of those things where
she was also very young at the time too.
Oh, I see.
So like I still, man, I keep fucking up with her too though because I was on Tim's stream not too long ago, and then we were like streaming some shit, right? And there was this book. And I was flipping through the book and it had like random poetry. And I was like, what the fuck? And this shit's garbage, right? And it was her book. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I didn't mean like
reignite that flame.
You know, and I was like, hey, man, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't know it was hers.
Yeah,
you know, I was just making a joke because it was drawing.
It was just a prop.
Yeah,
right?
it was just a prop. I was making a joke. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then Tim just starts dying laughing. Like, because he knows about this thing. He's like, it's Gabbie Hanna's. And he starts crying laughing. I'm like, fuck, Tim, stop laughing. This makes me look terrible. You know, I didn't specifically know, but once again, this part's never gonna get to her unless some vindictive fuck is gonna send this to her. But she's, like I said, she's fucking talented. Like she does music now too. She writes her own shit. She has the skill and ability to be an entertainer, and like it's very much appreciated. However, when you steal shit, and especially when it comes to stand-up comedy world, and I came from stand-up, it is gonna bother me.
Right.
You know, and I didn't go on, like I said, I didn't go on a crusade to tarnish her name, but it was just a thought.
It's like own up to it. You know what I mean? You know what you did. You know what you did.
Yeah.
You just gotta fucking just apologize and move on. You know?
Yeah, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But a lot of these like younger YouTubers were that's why they have this quote unquote YouTube beef, which me, Bart, and Joe would always laugh about. Right? They go, yo, I got beef with this motherfucker. So what, you gonna scrap? You guys gonna throw down? What are you gonna do? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do?
Yeah. Have you guys even seen each other in person?
Yeah.
Or is it just digital spit spat, you know, back and forth shit, right?
Yeah, and because like in our mind too, I think it's because of the way that we grew up, you know, especially with people dying, people getting shot and killed. It's like, this isn't beef.
Yeah.
If it was beef, you'd be dead.
Yeah, beef has a certain like connotation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you say you got beef with somebody, like, oh, you got down with this mother. Nah, he just said something bad about me. Like, the fuck?
Somebody years ago sent me this funny fucking video, and it's this like there's a lot of these like younger creators that I don't really know because I'm not an avid YouTube watcher anymore, right? Like I've been on the space for 11 years now, so obviously I'm not going to be as into it as when I was like 23 or whatever, right? So fuck, I don't want to fuck up his name because it's gonna sound super disrespectful. The first part is it's an Asian ass fucking word. It's either rice gum or rice bum, but it's one of those things.
It's rice gum.
Rice gun?
Yeah. Wait, no. Is it rice gum?
Rice
gum.
Rice gum.
Yeah.
Apologies. You fucking dweeb. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. But this kid rice gum, right? So rice. No, I'm kidding. So this kid rice gum.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a video of his, and And apparently he had beef with some other dude on YouTube, and they're recording as they're confronting him. And then this kid Rice comes, a very loud, flamboyant kid. He's like, whatever, 6 feet tall, super skinny, but he kind of does these quote unquote rants, right? And I guess he was talking mad shit, and they brought up the video to him, and they're approaching him, right? He comes up to him and he goes, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'm like, wait, I thought you didn't like this guy, right? That's what I'm saying. Like,
oh no, it's just a publicity stunt for the YouTube, you know?
And I bring that point up because that's not beef. This is all, you guys are playing fucking patty cake with each other, right? So when you say beef, you guys could always go ahead and settle it like fucking man to man and go ahead and scrap or talk to each other face to face.
Again, that goes back to the point I made earlier of now these content creators are doing what the bigger guys would do to create interest, to create like people
like Logan Paul, and, the guy, the black British dude, the gamer,
KDI or
something like that, and then I know his name,
KSI.
Yeah, so KSI.
CSI.
Yeah, CSI. You know, so and they made like what, 4 mil, 10 mil off of that boxing match. It's fucking insane. And it was like one of the worst boxing matches I've ever seen in my life, but it doesn't matter. And that's a great comparison to what we have with it's like watered down content, but it's appealing to a certain crowd. And these guys are capitalizing off of it.
For sure. I'm sure, man, there's a lot more going on that people don't know about in terms of like these so-called beefs or dramas that exist within like the social media platforms or the content creators on those respective platforms, and you know, they're just doing it to make money, get hits,
and I bet you if you talk to them in person, they're probably like super nice people, dude. They're just, you know, young people, and they get caught up in the hype, and they feel like they have to push a certain persona because they're afraid that they're going to be forgotten tomorrow. Because I know what that feels like, to be in a space where you feel like you constantly have to create, and if you don't create, you feel like your identity is based on how that thumbs up button, that like button, that view count. If you don't get that, you don't feel validated as a human being, especially at that age when you're 20 years old, 18 year old, 19, and you have fucking 7 figures in your bank account, and you know for a fact that money's in there simply because you do crazy shit, and you have to keep one-upping it, one-upping it, and then you see somebody else come up, and then you're forgotten because they're doing crazier shit than you. It's hard to deal with for a lot of these young kids, especially because at that age they don't even know who the fuck they are yet. I actually feel bad for them. They don't know who the fuck they are yet. They don't even have real friends yet at this point. So what is their foundation? They think that they have this idea of what friendships and real relationships are, and they find out that, oh, these people are just using me because they want to make their own money, and then when they become successful, they leave me. So now their guards are up, and now they start going crazy. And this isn't speculation. I know specific people in this space that broke down like that because they didn't take the time to invest in themselves, and they got popular too fast at a young age.
Like FouseyTube, right? Or
FouseyTube is a great example, right? Tim recently did a podcast with them, and he was telling me. And so a little backstory between me and Youssef. So Youssef, and I actually met Youssef. I was one of the first people he met when he came to LA. Me and Abe met him, right? Really sweet dude. He's dealt with a lot of these like mental issues for a very long time. And with him, he was one of those cases. Like, he always created for other people. I didn't watch Tim's podcast, but this is just my opinion. Youssef's biggest issue was that he is the clear example of that. He never ever created for himself. He always looked to see what was popular, what everybody else liked about the stuff that he was going to create. So he created for everybody else but himself.
Just anything that generates clicks and views.
Exactly. And so when it came time for him to create for himself, either people didn't like it or he didn't know if it was good because the likes and the like ratio and the view count didn't represent what he felt about his products.
Right.
You know?
And like that's such a slippery slope because your identity starts morphing because of that. Like, this is supposed to be like the real platform now, right? You get to see the real whoever this person is.
Who are you?
But then you're catering to a specific thing. And
I am who you say I am.
Yeah, exactly. And then now you're like trying to be quote unquote real. And like, man, it's fucking whack.
Yeah.
You're like, that's the real me.
That's the real me. Like, this fool got his head tattooed to fill in his hairline and shit, doing all this other stuff. This fool, like, clearly he might have been on roids for a second or something, but just watching this guy just burn in front of me, you know? And when I met him anyways, super nice guy, but emotionally very volatile. And he came into a space where being an emotionally volatile human being is the worst. It's the fucking worst because no matter what he does, either he's going to be praised or crucified, but it's always on the hard end of each spectrum.
Yeah.
Either I fucking love you or I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And then he started getting a God complex when he wanted to throw that Drake concert or whatever. He was like, yeah, Drake's coming through. Didn't happen. People started flaming him for that shit, put him into a spiral of depression. And what do you say about that, bro? It's like you were fine with who you are. People liked you. And you weren't okay with it because you just kept doing stuff for other people.
Try to go bigger and better, you know?
Fuck that shit, dude.
Yeah.
Be broke like me, man.
I'm
happy.
I mean, but that's the slippery slope about it. And then what I alluded to earlier, you can go bigger and better, but the fall can be also
pretty
bigger,
fucking hard,
you
man.
know?
Mediocrity's the best, baby.
I don't know about that, man.
Hey, man. You know what this fool fucked up earlier, too? We were talking about Dave Chappelle, right? And I was like, yo, man, how does somebody become like Dave Chappelle? Like, some people got it and some people don't. And I'm like, bro, I'm standing right here. It was like dissing me right now. It was like some people just ain't made for granted.
The analogy I made is like, hey, man, you got guys like MJ and Kobe, right? There's bunch of other professional basketball players. Why are they not MJ and Kobe?
I was sitting here just like, bro, just fucking tell me I suck. Like, he's supposed to trashing the fuck out of me.
Nah, bro, I'm just telling you like it is. Like I said, I just say it like it is, right?
Yeah, honest opinion. Yes, man.
Like even with that kid, that fucking Logan Paul, right? That guy, I don't know what goes on in his head. You know, that guy popped off hard, dude. He's the biggest star on YouTube now, even till this day. So,
more than PewDiePie? I thought PewDiePie isn't he the
What'd you say?
Pootie?
Bro, I don't think that's how you say his name. Why do you say it? PewDiePie.
PewDiePie.
Hey, we're gonna change this podcast name to Old Heads. Yo, this fucking podcast. Welcome to an episode of Old Heads.
Today we're talking about PewDiePie.
PewDiePie. Who got that bit in the channel?
PewDiePie. I think, you know, it's like Pootie Tang, right?
Yeah. This is an episode of Old Heads where we can't pronounce nothing.
PewDiePie. Yeah, PewDiePie.
I said rice bum. Fuck, man. I might have said that in an old video too. Hey, that's no disrespect to you, young man. I haven't really even watched the context.
Young man.
Young man. Yeah, man.
I mean, I caught.
Where my sunflower seeds at?
Sponsored by David's.
I'm about to roll some dice on a piece of cardboard right now.
PewDiePie, isn't he? Yeah, hasn't he been like reigning #1 for like forever?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, these guys are so interesting. Maybe it's because like I don't have a yearn to be on a space and be recognized. Once I make like $1 gajillion, you would never see me. I will disappear for like Chappelle. Disappear for years and I'll come back saying crazy shit.
How crazy was it go back to Chappelle when you watched Unforgiven when he was saying like when his first night doing his show and the guy was like, you might see someone become a star. Introducing Dave Chappelle.
No, he told that story before though.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
So Mariel wasn't too bad.
Yeah, because fucking Mariel, I was watching Chappelle, the Chappelle show on Netflix, and she goes, "Who's Dave Chappelle?" And I looked at her, I was like, "Get the fuck out of his house." I was like,
"You don't know me."
I would have had the exact same reaction.
He's like, "Did you watch?" She said to her friend exactly. She goes, "Did you watch the Chappelle show?"
Oh, Chappelle,
dude.
From Chapel to Chapel.
Dude,
Good
Chappelle.
Lord.
Chappelle sounds like the name of a white racist pastor, dude.
God.
She got, and I just was. I'm like, I didn't even say anything at first, because I couldn't process what was going on. And
I would be dumbfounded at first too.
Later on, we were just laying in bed, and it was just quiet. And I looked over. I said, "Do you know who Michael Jordan is?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah." "Who's Michael Jackson?" She goes, "Yeah." "How the fuck do you not know who Dave Chappelle is?" She goes, "I don't know everything." I was like, that's a household name. That's like saying you don't know what water is.
Yeah.
That's like saying you don't know. Yeah,
come on now.
Crazy.
Dave Chappelle and Chappelle.
Does she know who she is engaged to? Yeah. That's the thing too. Sometimes I wonder. She goes, "You know what? You make too much jokes." Bitch. Like this. What pays for this?
So what you mean I make
Sometimes
too much
she be saying
jokes?
some hurtful shit. She'll stop when she's mad at me and look at me with a weird pause. She goes, "You know, you're not that funny." And I'm like, "Oh God, man." I swear to God, man, I hate you so much. She goes, "You try to say shit that hurts my feelings." Yeah, like, oh, okay, man. I'm gonna put that pillow over your face at night though. It's fucking funny. Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. Shout out to my fiance saying Dave Chappelle. Appreciate that a lot. I still love you.
Get
Gonna
your
be
life
with you.
together, Mario. Come on now.
Shout out to Ray for saying for correcting Khalif earlier in this
breakfast
podcast.
show,
Oh,
man.
I heard,
Come
bro.
on, man.
I
Yeah.
hurt, man.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I regret asking you to come.
How you gonna embarrass Khalif, dude?
Yeah.
Like that.
Damn, dog.
Well, you could
My
find
secret's gone.
you can find Khalif at Khalif Boyd on Instagram. You can find Ed at Ed2 and at Secret Society. Black Friday sale, because this video is gonna go out this Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
BF50. We're doing our biggest promotion yet. Get 50% off the entire site. Get ready, y'all. It's coming.
man,
50% off. We're
invasive.
getting rid of our inventory. So take
God,
all our
my
shit.
butthole clenched on that. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, we got the K-Town collection still there. We got some of our basic tees. We got all that other stuff.
All the classics. Everything I'm wearing right now. You get 50% off.
50%
you know?
off. Take that shit, and then so we can hurry up and start a new line. So
Help us out, please.
see y'all next time, bitches. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.